and welcome back to a boisterous daily wrap. I'm your host, Joe Concha, and if you're just joining us, we're in the middle of our potluck where we share our favorite stories of the day. Ricky, what do you got?
So one of my favorite movies is The American President with Michael Douglas. And he gives a speech in that movie where he's talking about his opponent who's been just a complete jerk.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss. And the guy's name is Bob Rumson, and he says, Bob Rumson's problem is not that he doesn't get it, it's that he can't sell it. Well, I want to take that phrase and apply it to a candidate for the GOP nomination, that being Mike Huckabee. On Friday, Huckabee told a reporter that people should not join the military until President Obama is out of office. Why? Because apparently the president is, quote, openly hostile to the Christian faith. Now, I'm going to set aside this whole disgusting conversation we find ourselves in about whether or not President Obama and his administration are openly hostile to the Christian faith, despite the fact that almost all of them are Christian. We'll set that aside. Here is a man who wants to be president so badly that he's going to say anything he can to try and sell Americans on the idea that he has some connection to God that they can get through him. Look, Mike Huckabee has called for war in Iran. Mike Huckabee had called for war in Syria and criticized the president mightily when he decided not to go forward across the red line. He has called for war against ISIL, and I'm not criticizing him for that. But I'd like to know how Mike Huckabee thinks we're going to have the soldiers to fight these wars that he wants if they decide not to enlist in the military because President Obama is not Christian enough for Mike Huckabee's taste. Let's read one of the things that he said here. When you have this attitude that is more about promoting gay marriage and gay rights in the military than it is about being able to protect religious liberty for those people of faith, it's going to be hard to find people that are truly devoted people of faith and Christian believers and Orthodox Jews and others. Guess what, Mr. Huckabee? Your religious convictions are not a requirement for joining the United States military, and thank God for that. And you know what else? Your comment about gay Americans in the military, I'm only reminded, and you were not on that stage, I can only imagine how you would have reacted, but the Republican candidates last time around, when a gay American in Afghanistan putting his life on the line to save your sorry you-know-what, got booed by the people in attendance there because he was gay. Mike Huckabee, it's not that you don't understand America. You don't know how to sell it.
Wow. Well, that wasn't potluck. That was a five-course meal.
Now, would you like to know how I really feel?
I think we do.
I would kill to see a Martin O'Malley and Mike Huckabee matchup.
Now that would be fun. Oh, we'd have a good time with that.
Quick reaction.
Yeah, real quick. I actually think he can sell it. Now, I agree more with what you just said. No, but he can. And when even you say the whole Christian thing, that's people's lives. It's not a thing. It is the faith that animates their life. And although my vision of religion and religious faith is not Mike Huckabee's, we are going to have to appreciate why what he said does play for people. You can't get there from where you're coming. You can't tell people don't feel what you feel or believe what you believe. What we can do is give your example and say, yeah, you can sell that, but how are you going to sell it to the family of a gay soldier?
Wait, all you're saying is, it's okay. I mean, you're not saying it's okay. Go ahead and take advantage of people who claim that they love the Constitution, but don't quite understand that the Constitution doesn't require a Christian faith to be a member of the military. No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
What I'm saying is if you have millions and millions and millions of Americans who feel that the administration is hostile to them. Not take advantage of it. Address it. You want to address it better? I'm with you, and I'll go with you to do it. But it can't be by calling it the Christian thing. It's offering a real alternative that speaks to people's faith and isn't discriminatory.
People to stay out of the military.
No, I agree. I said that we agree about, but we're going to have to find a better alternative than hectoring people about it.
Let me jump in just because I want to relinquish my time for my potluck tonight because this is too good of a discussion. Because I want to hear what Heather has to say about this.
Well, I think I agree that you can't tell people not to join the military because you feel as though there's not a support for Christianity. At the same time, I do think that there's an argument to be made that there are a lot of people who don't feel supported by our commander-in-chief.
Separate issue completely.
Well, but in part, in part it can be because of the Christianity issue. That it absolutely. I mean, when he talks in Easter about his problems with the Christian faith, and when he talks at the prayer breakfast about his problems with the Christian faith, there does feel a lack of support for Christians, and there's a lack of support for Christians in the world right now, and it's a big part of these wars that we're fighting.
I talk to military guys. You talk to military guys. I know military guys who don't like this president. I don't know one of them who has ever said, you know, I'm not going to re-up because I feel that my faith isn't being respected. They don't like the president necessarily. They would like a different commander-in-chief, but not one of them has ever said, because I'm not allowed to be Christian
Well,
or
and that's
Jewish
where he was
or
wrong.
Muslim.
That's where he was wrong.
Well, but this is what he's trying to sell.
Fascinating. And I've never given up my time for potluck
No.
before. I'm very
liked
selfish
it.
about this thing. But don't worry, we're going to talk Britt McHenry. Britt McHenry. Boy, that's a tough word to say.
Yes.
That
Name
is
to
tough.
say tomorrow night as I, anyway, that's all the time we have for potluck. But when we come back, it's time for Yay or Nay. Best part of the show. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV. Welcome back to the Daily Wrap. It's time for Yay or Nay. First up, Norway is making major waves today after its Ministry of Culture announced it will start turning off FM radio on January 11th, 2017. Norway will be the first country to get rid of FM entirely. The country argues digital radio will not only give listeners access to more diverse content and better quality, but going digital will save the country about, get this, $25 million a year. Other Scandinavian countries and the UK are planning to go digital by 2022. Goodbye to FM radio in the U.S. Rick Unger of Sirius XM Radio.
I say go, baby. Time to switch to XM radio all around the world. And do you know what you can get on XM radio?
What?
Steel and Unger every Saturday morning on POTUS Channel.
Well,
And I
Heather,
think
leave
the
it to
world's
Rick
ready.
Unger
FM
to
is
root
free.
for people losing their jobs and going into business altogether so he can get a couple more listeners.
So I can provide jobs.
Oh, yes.
He makes a point.
Okay.
He makes a
but
point.
you have to pay for Sirius XM.
I know.
You don't have to pay for FM, so I'm a nay. I think
Bye
people
bye,
should have
FM.
free radio access,
Well,
for
you got
sure.
a problem with me making a living?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes,
Look, truth
I
is
do.
nothing is free. There is no free radio. There's subscription fees and there's advertising and everyone's paying for something. So I think the truth is I'm emotionally a nay, but this is the wave of the future, so it's going to be a yay now or sometime soon.
I agree. It is a yay as well. It will be part of the U.S. culture, unfortunately. But I'll miss AM radio. Hope that never goes away.
Yeah, but I guess we'll never be hearing the Heather Hansen show on Sirius XM.
You never know.
Wow. Moving on. You would think someone who shot a president would spend the rest of their life behind bars, right? Or at least not in a gated community. But that's exactly where John Hinckley, the man who shot President Reagan back in 1981, spends most of his time. For the past year, under a judge's orders, Hinckley spent 17 days out of each month at his mother's house. It's in a nice gated community in Williamsburg, Virginia. It overlooks a golf course. He gets to take walks, shopping, eating out, all part of the process of reacclimating the 59-year-old Hinckley back into society, which also includes regular meetings with a psychiatrist and a therapist. No word on the masseuse. Court hearings on whether or not to move Hinckley to his mother's house permanently are set for Wednesday. So, Mr. Hirschfield, you're all about forgiveness. Should John Hinckley be reintegrated back into society?
I'm a definite maybe. I think only irrevocable crime should have irrevocable punishments. But I don't think you have to invest in sending him to the golf course to hang out with mom to prove that he's ready for that. Prove it on the inside, test it, and then we'll see there.
Heather, it did happen, doing the math here, 34 years ago.
Yeah,
Is it time?
the emotion of this is why the insanity defense has changed so drastically since he got the insanity defense, because people don't like to see this type of thing, and especially had someone been, had the president been killed, it would have been unheard of. So I think that it is, I understand why they want to do it, but I think it's a nay.
I'm actually a yay on this. Look, I mean, there's a reason that this fellow did not go to jail. He went to an institution instead. He was crazy. I think that he has been doing what the rabbi suggested. They have been testing it. They have been putting him into his mother's home for shorter periods of time. And if they think that he's now capable of existing in society, I don't see any benefit served except,
I'm a nay only because if he goes back out and shoots somebody, goes after Jodie Foster or something like that, then we'll say, what were we thinking about letting him out? It's symbolic to your point, Heather. Anyway, Tim Tebow is back. Yes, and he's going to Heather's Philadelphia Eagles, where she was once part of the Eaglettes. Don't think
That's
you knew that.
Eaglets.
Anyway, the 27-year-old Tebow hasn't played an NFL regular season game since 2012, has remained one of the most popular players in the league, in part to his strong Christian beliefs and his unique end zone celebration pose. So, people, now that the Eagles have Tim Tebow, who can't throw a 15-yard out to save his life, are they going to the Super Bowl, and will they finally take one home to the city of brotherly love? Bradley.
No, I think this guy prays better than he plays,
Oh,
and I
nice.
respect him for the prayer, and he's not a bad player, but the Super Bowl, on him, I don't see that one.
Okay, Heather, he did win a playoff game once.
You've never seen a more confused bunch of fans than Eagles right now with what Chip Kelly is doing. No one has a clue, so I can't answer it.
Interesting, Rick.
I do think, I'm glad he's getting back in, I am. And I do think you're going to see a much better passing motion. I think he's been working on this for 2 years, and I don't think anything he could do is going to send the Eagles to the Super Bowl.
I agree. As a third-string quarterback, though, and his presence in the locker room, once you get by the distractions, a good guy to have in your team, no question. Finally, tonight, doctors have ordered Pope Francis to limit his intake of pizza and pasta so he can lose some weight and take some stress off his back. Don't I know it? That's right. The 78-year-old Pope was told to limit his carb intake to only a few days a week and take longer walks. I've been to Italy. This will be impossible. Should the Pope be able to consume whatever the hell he wants? Probably the wrong wording there. Brad.
Should he? Yeah, he can. They didn't take away his right to. What they advised him is, you're a holy man. You're on the side of life. You believe in the sanctity of life. Lay off the carbs.
Heather, quickly.
We need him around for a long time. I like this Pope. He should eat well.
What's the point of being God's representative on earth if you can't eat pizza?
Just eat a little less.
I'm a yay as well, and that's all the time we have. Panel, excellent job this evening. You really bought it tonight. We really appreciate it. And be sure to tune in tomorrow night at 6 p.m. for more Daily Wrap, where we may or may not have a very big announcement. So, anyway, I'm Joe Concha saying take care of yourself and each other.